This week on the SEAL Report, you'll hear directly from UNI President Dr. Mark Nook, and also we'll talk politics with KWWL political analyst Dr. Chris Larimer. And our program begins right now.
Now from KWWL, this is the SEAL Report.
And welcome to this week's edition of the SEAL Report. We're going to talk some politics later in the show with Chris Larimer, Dr. Chris Larimer of UNI. He's our KWWL political analyst, of course. But right now I want you to hear from UNI President Mark Nook. So what are classes? Can you tell the faculty, the students, and their parents what classes at UNI are going to look like this fall?
For this fall, what we have been able to manage to do is that 80% of our classes will be either face-to-face or hybrid. And by hybrid, we mean at least a portion of that class will be offered face-to-face and the other in some virtual environment or some other mode. But over 80% will be face-to-face and hybrid, relatively small portion of them truly online. We will be running our classrooms at 40% of capacity, so a room that typically holds 50 students, we'd run at with only 20 in it, so that we can have appropriate spacing in the classroom. And we will be requiring all students, faculty, and staff, everybody that enters a building to have a face covering on, whether that's a mask or a face shield, depending on their health concerns and things of that sort.
So how difficult has it been to prepare for this fall semester, given all that's happened here the last 5 months or so? This is the most unprecedented time I've ever seen in American education.
It certainly is. You know, I think you'd have to go back at least 100 years to find anything like it and get back to the 1918, 1919 influenza epidemic. And so it really has been a big lift. We've had to figure these things out on our own. The important thing is figuring out what questions to ask and then how to get answers to those questions. Fortunately, we've got a really great team of vice presidents, deans, and especially faculty and staff that have been willing to really roll up their sleeves and work on this and find what are the tough questions. What are we really going to have to do? And how do we put together solutions so that we can keep our community healthy, safe, and still be able to offer that, high-touch education that the University of Northern Iowa is so known for.
Let's talk about the financial situation. I read projections of between Iowa State, and UNI of somewhere between $150 to $190 million in lost revenue. 28 million, I think, was your projection. Perhaps that maybe has changed, but would you describe this as a dire situation? I know you're a very upbeat guy, but what's this financial situation look like?
It has been a tough year. We did have a little over 20 million in lost revenue and expenses, and that stretches from sort of March when the virus really hit us through the end of the summer, and we'll have some additional. Now those have been offset with some reduced expenses, but we've also had the Federal CARES Act money that for us was about 3.8 million that we could put to offset some of those expenses. We had another 3.8 that we moved out to students. So in total, sort of from early March through the end of the summer, we've had about $15.5 million net loss. And we've been able to work our way through that. Going into this year, of course, we'll have some additional expenses as we scale up to be ready to bring students back, have the testing in place, and some of those other procedures and things that we'll need to make sure everybody is safe. And of course, we don't know how things in front of us might impact us moving forward. So we're putting in some contingency plans to be ready to handle the budget things that could come at us yet this fall and perhaps even into the spring.
Well, I read the University of Michigan's expecting $1 billion loss, so I guess you could look on the bright side there for UNI, but it is a tough time, there's no doubt about it. A lot of people have asked me, they want to know what's going to happen with sports, particularly with football coming up and volleyball and the other sports. So can you tell us right now what the plans are?
I can tell you what we're doing right at this moment, and the other thing I can tell you is we don't really know what will happen yet. There's a lot of time and things are happening very quickly. So all of this could change. But at the moment, the Missouri Valley Conference, which oversees all of our sports except for wrestling and football, has decided that they won't have a preseason play. They'll start September 12th, the weekend of September 12th, with conference play. Now with football, at the moment, we're moving forward, planning to play a non-conference set as well. We have, of course, lost the Iowa game with the decision that the Big Ten made, but we're still looking at a game at Idaho State, having Weber State in here, and looking to see if we can fill in that gap that Iowa was in as well. But practices have started for the football team. Some of the others are back sort of in early practices. But right now, that's sort of where we're looking at being as we go into the fall.
Yeah, losing the Iowa game is a big loss in many ways. Just the game itself is so exciting, and the revenue loss. Can you give us a little bit about protocol? What's going to happen? You know it's going to be inevitable. Either staff or student will come down with COVID-19. Then what's going to happen then?
Yeah, if it's a student that's living in our residence halls, we have set aside some of our rooms so that we can isolate students and then have meals come to them. They won't have to go down to the cafeteria or anything like that. We'll take care of them. And so we've got some isolation procedures set up. We have testing facilities set up in our student health center as well that will have a sort of a private entrance and exit to it, so they won't be, if they think if they think they have COVID, they need to be tested. They won't be using the same entrances and things that other students using the health center would be, or students using our counseling center. For the students off campus, of course, we would ask them to self-isolate. And for faculty and staff, the same would be true. We're asking anybody that has that feels that they have any of the symptoms, especially a fever, but any of the other symptoms, cough, sore throat, those sorts of things, to self-isolate for 14 days. And in some cases with faculty and staff, they may be able to continue to work from home depending on the level of that illness and what it really turns out to be. But we're really trying to get everybody to be as conscientious about their health. And even if it isn't COVID related, to think carefully about what it might be and to take care of themselves and not spread these things around to other people, other members of our campus community or the community at large.
So it's interesting, you're starting a week earlier this year on August 17th, and you'll be done by Thanksgiving. I remember when I was teaching at UNI, we always got Labor Day off. You're going to actually have classes on Labor Day this year, I understand, and you'll be done early, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. If we can start on the 17th and use Labor Day as a class day, then we can finish up the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving with our finals. That will get us out, ahead of what is generally when the influenza season starts to pick up a little bit. And hopefully it'll get us out before COVID ramps up in a winter season, if there is one. Give us a little more time for that vaccine to be found and tested and everybody feel safe and comfortable with it, with the hopes that we'd have less of an impact then on our spring semester in particular.
What kind of impact does the pandemic have on your fundraising efforts, which you're so heavily involved in and are so important for the University of Northern Iowa?
Well, right now, if you just look at the numbers, it's improving it.
Good.
Which is kind of interesting. We've just had our best year ever in fundraising. A lot of that happened before the virus hit. That goes from a July 1 to June 30. But we've continued raising money this summer, reaching out to friends and donors. And many of them realize and recognize that our students are impacted by this. Some of them have lost jobs. Some have had other things that have increased their expenses. And so they're reaching out to help us with scholarships to support these students, help us with our Panther Pantry that helps students that are food insecure on our campus and come to our campus. So it really has, we've really continued to move forward in the philanthropy. It's been great to see the generosity of the people of this community, of this state, of Panther alumni and faculty and staff.
Well, that's very good news. I mean, you do have a lot of loyal and dedicated Panther followers out there. And I want to ask you, what have you told your staff and your faculty? They're so dedicated, they care so much about Panther Nation. What have you told them about the importance of this fall semester and what it means for the future of the university?
You know, it is really a unique time for us as a university, having to move through COVID-19, as all universities are. It is a big challenge that's sitting in front of us. You know, but I look back at what we did in March, moving from 90% face-to-face to 100% online. And you know, if you'd have told me back in February of 2017 when I started this job that, Mark, we want you to prepare to move your entire course load online in 3.5 years, I'd have said, you know, I need twice that much to even think about it. And we did it in a week, right? And it really wasn't anything I did. It was the faculty and the staff both kind of coming together and saying, we've got to continue to support our students. We don't have a way around this. Let's figure out how we can continue to provide a high quality education to our students as effectively as possible under the circumstances that we've got. So, you know, the things that the faculty and staff have done are the sorts of things that they'll continue to do this fall and into the spring to make sure that our students have a high quality education, really do build those personal touches with their faculty, with staff members, but also with other students, and finding ways to keep students engaged with each other, and whether it's in a hybrid class, in our standard face-to-face classes, but also in our online classes, the ones we do have to teach online. So it really is, you know, they understand what's in front of us. We continue to talk about it, help them understand how we've positioned the university and the changes we've made so that they can continue to be successful in their careers. And more importantly, we as a university can continue to be successful in meeting the needs of our students and the people of the state of Iowa.
And a big thanks to President Mark Nook for filling us in on the UNI plans for this fall. Coming up next, KWWL political analyst Dr. Chris Larimer of UNI will join us to talk about the 1st District congressional race and also the race for U.S. Senate in Iowa.